Welcome to Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church. Our service today is called Easter Sunday, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, hello. Happy Easter, everyone. Thank you. So I have a little Easter joke for you just to get us rolling along. What do rabbits say before they eat? Let us pray. Let us. Okay, you got it. All right, there we go. Before we get rolling into the service, I have just a few announcements. If you haven't yet sent in your pledge, last Sunday was wrapping up the pledge Sunday, but we have a few more that need to come in, so please do that when you can. Next Sunday is Membership Sunday, and it's really exciting. This year we're welcoming 7 new members, which is great. I know it's school vacation week starting next Sunday, but I hope you can be here to welcome them and to get to know them a little bit and show them our spirit. Also, we'll be celebrating membership anniversaries of 10 years and 25 years, so that will be lovely as well. Then on April 23rd, that's when we celebrate Earth Day, and our Green Sanctuary Committee will be leading worship on that day. On April 30th, we'll be talking about our ministry teams, past, present, and future. And then on May 7th, C.B. Beale returns for worship and a workshop, so I hope you'll mark your calendars for that special day. Now, on to today. Today's service is different from our usual services. My tongue isn't cooperating with me today. Maybe I didn't have enough coffee. Let's try that again. 4 or 5 times a year, Katie and I work together to create a multi-generational service, one that is intentionally family-friendly, and we hope friendly to people who have different learning styles, different attention styles. And what do I mean by that? I mean that instead of having one long sermon and one long story, we chop them up a little bit. We have we're going to put it up in just a second. So we have the story comes in 4 different parts. You can see it up here. And then after each part of the story, there'll be a shorter reflection from me, some space for rituals, some space for music. And the idea is that there'll be more time for moving around and engaging with each other. There'll even be a time to talk to your neighbor. So I'm preparing you for that. As I said, today is an exception to our usual format. Next week, we'll be back to usual. If you need a guide to help you get through the service, go ahead and take a picture of this slide if you need it, and feel free to refer to it throughout the service. Or you can just trust me to guide you through. Special thanks today to all of our helpers. Our greeter, Nancy Nichols, she's with the bunny ears. Thank you, Nancy. There's our usher, the lovely Michael O'Connor, and our coffee hosts, Beth Cockram and Kelly Whalen. Thank you all for your help today. Now it's our moment of greeting. It's time to turn around and wave to everybody, say welcome to newcomers. And of course, there's our people joining us from home. Hello to all the roomers, and hello to all the Zoomers, people on Zoom. Thank you for joining us. Hey, Zoomers. Hello, good morning, and happy Easter. And now I call us to worship. We gather this morning to recall the ancient stories, to recall the holy days honored now for thousands of years, Passover, which reminds us of the courage and commitment it takes to fight for human freedom in every age, in every place. And Easter, which teaches us now and forever that love is stronger than death. In gratitude for these ancient stories and for the people who lived them and passed them down, we gather. For all the ancestors who worked and sacrificed and built our traditions, our nation, our world, in gratitude for all those who loved us into freedom, we gather. And now together we light the symbol of our living faith, the flaming chalice. Here to light it for us this morning is Aaron Hoban-Audette. Aaron, there we go. Aaron is a member of both the Committee on Ministry and your Pledge Drive team. Thanks for helping us, Aaron.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join me in the words of our covenant, which you can see on the screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God.
And join in our opening hymn, which is number 270, Oh, the Day of Light and Gladness. In your gray hymnals, your lyrics will appear up here, so you don't actually need to pull out the hymnals if you don't need to. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. You may be seated. Han Solo, Nancy Drew, James Bond, Joe March, Atticus Finch, Katniss Everdeen, Harry Potter, Spider-Man, Percy Jackson. Heroes, all of them. Fictional, all of them. And yet, so inspiring. We love all of those stories. We take them into our hearts and we make them our own, even though we know the whole time that those stories are not factually true, not in any way. They did not happen. But we love these hero stories because they give us hope and therefore strength to do what must be done. Whether the story is true in a mundane, factual sense doesn't matter, because it points us to a deeper truth, a more important truth, a timeless truth. The hero of today's story is a man who actually lived. We know that part for sure. He stood up to an evil empire and was cruelly punished. We know that too. And what he said and what he stood for outlived him. That's also true. The story we tell today is foundational to Western cultures, and it's foundational to our religious heritage, too. Like the American flag, this story is a symbol that belongs to us, too. While other people with other values want to claim the story and define it for their own purposes, it's important that we remember that this story belongs to us just as much, and we get to claim it and define it too. Like other hero stories, fictional or not, this is a story about finding the courage to stand up for your values against all the odds, and about building and sharing a love that has no end. May the story inspire you too. Katie.
Today's story is The Easter Story by Brian Wildsmith. Once, a long time ago, a little donkey was brought to Jesus. The little donkey had never been ridden before, but Jesus spoke gently to him, and soon he stopped being afraid. Jesus climbed onto the donkey's back, and they set off for Jerusalem. As Jesus and his friends drew near the city, there were great crowds standing along the road. The little donkey was amazed to see so many people. Some had spread their clothes on the road. Branches cut down from the palm trees were spread there too, all for him to walk on. "Hosanna," the people shouted. "Hosanna, it's the man who comes from God." By the time they reached Jerusalem, the crowds had grown more excited. Some people asked, "Who's that, sitting on the back of the donkey?" Others replied, "It is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee." The little donkey lifted his head proudly as they entered the city. The little donkey carried Jesus through the streets until they stopped in front of the temple. People came from all around to pray there. Jesus went inside and saw that it was like a market, full of people buying and selling. Angrily, he drove them all out, shouting, "It is written, 'My house shall be a house of prayer, not a den of thieves.'" Then every day that week, he taught and healed people in the temple.
So, our story begins with Palm Sunday. That's the day that Jesus came riding into Jerusalem on the back of a donkey. Why does he do this? Well, it was the time of Passover, and back then, you celebrated by making a sacrifice at the temple in Jerusalem. So thousands of poor people from the country had flooded into the city, and tensions were running high. Jesus had been preaching and teaching his radical ideas for 3 years by then, and so he was well known. There are some Bible scholars today who believe that Jesus staged this parade sort of entry into the city as a kind of street theater. At that time of the year, when the Jews, oppressed by Rome, would be remembering Passover, about how their God once freed them from a system of domination and into a covenantal relationship of love. Jesus staged this triumphal entrance into the holy city, but not like a Roman emperor who would come marching in on a horse. He came on a donkey, alone and unarmed. The people would be greeting him as a king, but as a king of peace. The poor people would see the symbolism. They would see that Jesus wanted them to be free of the cruel Roman rule. Then Jesus goes to the temple, and what does he see there? People buying and selling and changing currencies. The temple was also a place where authorities collected taxes and debts, and very often they exploited and cheated the poor people there. At the time, most of the Jewish people were poor and hungry. So when Jesus disrupts the temple like this, he's again publicly acting out against Roman rule. Most likely, that is the action that led to his execution a few days later. The Bible scholar Marcus Borg wrote, "The Bible is political. It is about God's passion for a different kind of world, one in which people have enough, not as the result of charity, but as the fruit of justice. God's passion is for a world very different from domination systems, large and small, ancient and modern, systems so common that they can be called the normalcy of civilization. Borg says, like some prophets of the Jewish Bible, Jesus performed symbolic acts that challenged the symbols of power. He seems also to have taught specific strategies of nonviolent resistance. Indeed, his resistance to the way things were and his counter-advocacy of the kingdom of God led to his execution. Unquote. So what did Jesus teach that was so radical, that challenged the evil empire? What were these radical words that changed the system and changed the world? Well, to answer that question, I am going to need help from everybody here. Katie and I have hidden Easter eggs all around the sanctuary, and in each egg are some treats and maybe a little slip of paper that says something about Jesus, something that Jesus said. So now I invite you, while Tom plays us a little incidental music, to go and find all these eggs. And I'm going to invite the children especially to come forward and find all the ones that are hidden up here as well. Let's go ahead and take a couple minutes and see if we can find all the eggs. You can keep them. I can see one in the back window. Oh, be careful back there. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. I think we may have gotten all of them. Did you all look under your pews as well? Okay, can we all go back to our seats now? Now I'd like to know, did everyone get an egg, or did some people get a lot more than other people? Can you raise your hand if you don't have an egg? Can I ask the children who have more than one to share? Oh, I want everybody to have one egg if possible. So if you don't have an egg, could you raise your hand, please? And one of our many generous children will come and give you one of theirs. And I want to say to the kids, you can go ahead and open them, but please don't eat anything before asking your parents, okay? It's really up to them. Keep your hands up, and generous kids, look around and see who you can share with. Sharing is one of our values here at church. I want to make sure that everybody has one. Okay. And a word from Katie. Inside are some of them are little white erasers. They are not candy, they are erasers, a little white egg shape. So don't try to eat that one. Okay, is there anyone left who doesn't have an egg? Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, you can go ahead and open your egg, and inside there'll be some treats and a teaching from Jesus. And again, don't eat any erasers, and don't eat anything without asking your parents. And I'd like you now, everyone, to have a look at that teaching of Jesus that you got, and give yourself a minute to think about it. Read it, think about maybe what it means to you. Is it important to you? Has it made a difference in your life? And now I'm going to invite you, that some of you already have, to turn to your neighbor and talk about the teachings that you got in your eggs. Are they important to you? Do they matter to you? And I'll give you 2 minutes to do that, and then I'm going to invite anyone who'd like to come forward and share what you've learned. Yeah. Thank you, Tom. And I also put some sayings of Jesus into the chat in the Zoom room, so people on the Zoom room can look at the teachings of Jesus and think about those and see what they think of them and how they matter. So now I'm wondering, what did we learn from these? Did anyone find a teaching that mattered especially to them, that reminded them of something they hadn't thought about in a while? Did you learn something from chatting with the person next to you? Is something fresh coming to you? I'm inviting people to come forward and share if they would like, down here at the microphone. Go ahead and please start with your name so everybody can get to know you. Oh, thank you, Katie. Go all the way up.
Hello.
There we go.
That was loud.
See?
Sorry.
Tell us your name.
My name is Alex Ringen. I got love your neighbor as yourself.
Good. And what does that mean to you, Alex?
It's the golden rule, and it was one of the first things that I was taught here at this church when I was really little. So that's really cool. Also, I got a Twix bar.
The Twix bar is important too. Yeah. Ethan, what do you want to tell us?
I got, behold the birds of the air. They sow not, neither do they reap. They gather into your barns. Not yet heavenly fathers feed them. And are you not much better than they are? Can one of you add by worrying and add a single hour to your life?
What do you make of that?
I guess it just means, like, treat everything equal.
Yeah, it means, God takes care of the birds, so you don't have to worry. You'll be taken care of too. Have faith. Hey, Nathan, what teaching did you get?
I got, do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with measure you use, it will be measured to you. From Matthew 7:1. And I took this to mean, do not judge people too quickly, or do not judge a book by its cover. Give people the benefit of the doubt, and they might have their own things going on in their lives, so give them a chance.
That's great, yeah. Do you do that in your life?
I tried.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Very good. Does anybody else have a teaching they want to share with us? I am going to look in the Zoom room. Does anyone have a comment there? Well, Joyce Rodenheiser commented she got the teaching, lay up not for yourselves treasures upon earth, where they will mold and rust, and where thieves will break in and steal. For where your treasure, lay up your treasures in heaven, for where your treasure is, there will be your heart also. And Joyce said, the older I get, the more I see that I have laid up too many treasures. Thank you, Joyce. Katie, I think it's time for the next part of the story.
The donkey stayed with Jesus in the city. Thursday was a holiday, and on that night, they walked through the streets to a small house. Jesus went inside to have supper with his friends. Through the window, the little donkey saw Jesus breaking the bread. Take and eat this, said Jesus, holding the bread. It is my body. And the donkey watched as Jesus lifted up a cup of wine. Take and drink this, Jesus said. It is my blood. After supper, the little donkey followed Jesus and his friends to the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus said to them, sit here and keep watch while I pray. The donkey sat and waited, but everyone else fell asleep. Suddenly, a crowd of people came into the garden. They were led by Judas, one of Jesus' friends, and they seized Jesus and dragged him away. Judas had betrayed his friend. The rest of Jesus' friends ran away. The little donkey and Simon Peter didn't run away, but followed the crowd through the city. 3 times, Simon Peter was stopped. You are a friend of Jesus, people said. Simon Peter was afraid. No, he said, not I.
We pause our story again and take time, as we do every week, for quiet contemplation and centering. So let's begin that time by relaxing into our seats, feeling our feet on the floor, and breathing deeply together. Today we'll do our sharing a little bit differently. First we'll sing our centering song, and then we'll have our 2 minutes of shared quiet. Then, because we've reached the sad part of our story, I will invite those who like to come forward and share their sorrows as they feel comfortable. And we will share our joys a little bit later in the service, near the end. Our worship themes for April are resistance and our proposed 8th principle, which calls us to dismantle racism and other oppressions. It's a month for us to renew our commitments towards justice. Our centering song for April is number 155 in the Gray Hymnal, Circle Round for Freedom. Lyrics will appear on the screen. Please remain seated and join in as you feel comfortable. Let the song guide you into our time of shared quiet. Like the people in our story, sometimes all of us face times of sorrow and loss. And when we face them with other people, when we share our grief and our sorrow with others, we learn that community and connection can bring us strength and peace. So I would invite anyone who has a sorrow to share this morning to come forward, speak from the mic so that everyone can hear you and see you. I invite the people on Zoom to go ahead and type a sorrow into the chat box if you'd like to share it, and I will read it aloud.
Good morning. My name is Mary Beth Griscom. I do this every time. Both of my maternal grandparents were immigrants from Ukraine around the turn of the 20th century, 1904, 1905. And Easter is a very important celebration in the Eastern Orthodox and Eastern Rite churches. It was very important to my mother. She made a big deal of it, and beautiful pastries, and just wanted us to remember. And this is, at this time right now, the Ukrainians are facing their second year of war. So it's a candle of remembrance and sorrow, and just keep them in your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Let's all keep the people of Ukraine in our hearts today. Move forward.
So I'm Cheryl, and I've got Alex with me, and we're lighting a candle for her dad, who will have been gone 12 years on Tuesday.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Alex.
My name is Kellen, and I'm just lighting this candle for my friend Angela. She was just diagnosed with a brain tumor. So I've been thinking about her this week. Just trying to send positive vibes.
Kellen's friend was diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Hi, I'm Patricia Ferris, and we had a close family friend die this week, not of natural causes. His name is David J., and he was a perfectionist, and I just think it's a reminder that we all need to be kind to ourselves and reach out to friends if you need help.
Sorry, Patricia.
Hi again, Erin Hobenadet. Just a candle of concern. I was visiting with a friend yesterday. Her husband was diagnosed a few weeks ago with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he's a couple years younger than me. Kids are the same age as ours, so please hold them in your thoughts.
I'm Michael O'Connor, and 66 years ago, myself and my family survived a tornado. And so I really am heartbroken when I see the devastation that happened in the Midwest and the South. And I know what those people are going through. I said to my dad after we had lost everything, I said, "What do we do now?" And he said, "Well, you see that board over there? I want you to get a hammer and take the nails out of it, because we got to rebuild." And that's what those people are going through right now, and that's just really terrible.
Thank you, Michael. Let's take a moment to hold all these sorrows and all those that remain in our hearts unspoken. Let's hold them in our hearts and minds. Let's pray for all the people in the world who are hurting today. May they know peace and strength. Thank you all for sharing today. And Michael, please, thank you for lighting one candle that symbolizes our care for all the people who are hurting and for all the sorrows, both spoken and unspoken. Let this candle inspire us all to reach out with love and support. And now we go on to part 3 of our story.
At last they came to the house of Caiaphas, the high priest of the temple. The donkey heard Caiaphas ask Jesus, "Are you the Son of God?" "I am," Jesus replied. The high priest said, "You have heard these terrible words. How can any man speak this way of God? What do you say?" "He deserves to die," everyone cried. The crowd left Caiaphas' house and took Jesus to Pilate, the Roman governor, to see that he was punished. The little donkey watched as Jesus stood in front of Pilate, the chief priests of the temple, and a huge crowd of people. "Are you the king of the Jews?" asked Pilate. "Those are your words," said Jesus. The priests then accused Jesus of many things. "Have you no answer to make to them?" asked Pilate. But Jesus didn't answer. "What shall I do with him?" Pilate asked the crowd. "Crucify him," everyone shouted. "Take him and crucify him then," said Pilate. "I wash my hands of him." So the soldiers took Jesus away. They put a crown made of thorns on his head and made fun of him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. They gave him a cross of wood and forced him to carry it. "If only I could help him," thought the donkey sadly. But a man came out of the crowd and helped Jesus to carry his cross. The little donkey followed as they led Jesus to a hill outside the city. There they crucified him between two thieves.
I offer a poem by the mystic poet Ranchani Rhea. There is a brokenness out of which comes the unbroken, a shatteredness out of which blooms the unshatterable. There is a sorrow beyond all grief, which leads to joy, and a fragility out of whose depths emerges strength. Sometimes when our heroes stand up to evil empires, they know they are risking their very lives. I think of Luke Skywalker or Hermione Granger, and I remember cheering them on. And then I think of real-life heroes, people who have taken those same risks, but without weapons, without magic, without armed comrades. I think of Gandhi and MLK and Viola Liuzzi and Jimmy Lee Jackson. I think of Jesus, who knew what he was doing, who knew the might and the wrath of the empire he was challenging, and he did it anyway, with his eyes open. By standing up for truth, real, enduring spiritual truth, these real-life heroes built movements that outlived them, that changed nations and changed the world, movements that continue to inspire us generations and generations later. Their legacies prove to us that love is stronger than death. The English romantic poet William Blake once wrote, "Joy and woe are woven fine, a clothing for the soul divine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. It is right, it should be so. We were made for joy and woe." It's time now for today's offertory.
This church is a self-supporting organization funded by your generous annual pledge. You may also contribute to our weekly collection plate, which we split every month with a deserving cause. Folks on Zoom can donate either way using the orange button at the top right corner of our homepage at melroseuu.org. For the month of April, in honor of Earth Day, our Green Sanctuary Committee has chosen the New England Forestry Foundation in order to support its dual mission of preservation and sustainable harvesting. Half of our collection plate for the month of April will go to the New England Forestry Foundation. Today's offertory selection is by the composer Audrey Snyder, and it is a setting of that text that Reverend Suzanne just read by the English Romantic poet William Blake. This is called The Tapestry of Life.
The Bible scholar Marcus Borg wrote, "The Bible is about God's passion for a different kind of world, one in which people have enough, not as the result of charity, but as the fruit of justice. God's passion is for a world very different from systems of domination, large and small, ancient and modern." Unquote. Like Moses, like Gandhi, like MLK, Jesus risked everything to show us a vision of a better world, a fairer, more just, more free, more loving human existence. Because of his vision, because of all their visions, their work, their sacrifice, more of us are more free than ever before in human history. And with that privilege comes the responsibility to carry it forward. Now I ask you for all the joys that you'd like to share today. Folks on Zoom can type them into the chat box and I will read them aloud. People here in the room can come forward and speak from the microphone. If you would start with your name so we can get to know you, that would be great.
Hey, I'm Brian Johnson. I'm celebrating my tie. This is the one chance in the year I can wear this tie. I'm celebrating a candle of joy for Earth Day coming up. Not so much because Earth Day is when my eldest child is getting married, and I'm really excited.
Hi, I'm Chris Wells, and this joy is for my wife, Jenny Summers, who's a doctor up at the Greater Lawrence Family Health Center in Lawrence. Most of her patients are Spanish-speaking, and she's learned a lot of Spanish, but her work has sent her to Costa Rica this week to do an immersion program that she's having a great time with. So.
That's great.
My name's Liz Folser. This weekend is my dad's 90th birthday. He doesn't like birthdays, but my brother and one of his daughters are there with 3 of my dad's great-grandchildren, and so I know that was the birthday present that he really wanted.
My name is Karen Gabler, and this is a joy for some living heroes that I witnessed this week. I don't know if you've realized about the Tennessee 3, about the expulsion of the House of Representatives, were 2 African Americans and a white woman. And I listened to their testimony before their expulsion from the House in Tennessee, and I was so uplifted by how they spoke to truth to power. And I just sort of had the feeling that we have some Martin Luther King Jr.'s coming in the new leaders, and that gave me hope.
This is a candle of joy that I have my 2 beautiful grandchildren with me here today, as well as my beautiful daughter, Kellen. This is Will, and this is Marinelle. Do you want to say something?
Happy Easter! Happy Easter!
Hello again. Candle of Joy, I got a video yesterday from my son's host family in Germany. He's there on the school trip for 2 weeks. They were at a soccer match, and just to see the joy and fun they were having was really wonderful, and we're just so happy that all those kids can have that experience.
My joy is that over the April break I'm going to Disney World, so that's exciting. My joy is that Easter is today. Happy Easter.
She's very excited, up at 3:30 this morning.
That is excited. Wow. Ethan, do you have another joy? Are you coming forward? Okay. Last but not least.
I have 2. One that it's Easter, and another one that we get to watch the new Super Mario movie.
Michael, if you would please go ahead and light a candle that symbolizes all of our many joys and reminds us to feel grateful for all the many, many blessings in our lives. And speaking of joy and Easter, we need the 4th part of the story. That's my mess up. Go ahead, Katie, please finish the story for us.
Late that night, a rich man named Joseph asked Pilate for the body of Jesus. He wrapped the body in a clean linen sheet. It was too heavy for him to carry. Joseph placed the body of Jesus on the donkey's back, and the little donkey carried it to a new tomb, which had been cut out of a rock. Joseph laid the body inside and rolled a huge stone in front of the entrance. Early Sunday morning, Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Mary Magdalene came to the tomb. When they got there, they found that the stone had been rolled away and the body of Jesus was gone. The donkey saw 2 angels where Jesus' body had been. "He is not here," the angel said. "He is alive again." Mary and Mary Magdalene left the tomb, and the donkey followed until they came to a garden. A man was standing there. It was Jesus. The women were frightened, but Jesus said to them, "Don't be afraid. Run and tell my friends to go up to Galilee, and they will see me there." Jesus' friends were so happy to see him again. He stayed with them for 40 days, teaching them about the kingdom of God. But Jesus knew that it was near the time for him to leave this earth. One morning, he went up to his Father in heaven. The next day, one of Jesus' friends took the little donkey back to his home, and the donkey stayed there for the rest of his life, remembering the kind and good man he had carried on his back to Jerusalem.
The question is not whether we believe in resurrection, but whether we have known it. Known it in our own lived experience, seen it in the lives of others, felt it in the world around us. Persephone returns to the world of light. The phoenix is born again from its ashes. Jesus leaves behind the tomb. Snow and ice melts, giving way to new life. The promise of our shared faith is the promise of the season and the promise of these stories. Winter is not perpetual. The wheel will keep turning. The tomb is not the end. We affirm the promise of rebirth, of life's ultimate victory over death, of hope's triumph over hopelessness, not just as some abstract concept, but as the miraculous reality of our lives. This is what we celebrate today. Please rise as you are willing and able and join in our closing hymn, which celebrates all this, number 61 in the gray hymnal, "Lo, the Earth Awakes Again." The lyrics will be on the screen. Thank you. Please remain standing and join with me, if you will, in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please be seated. Our service has ended. Please, people on Zoom, go ahead. If you'd like to have a chat, you can join one of the chat rooms. Go ahead and click that button. People here, if you'd like to stay for a lovely prelude from Tom, you can also join us for some refreshments afterward in Parish Hall, which is the next room over. Thank you so much for gathering today, and happy Easter.